Hi, I want to welcome everybody to today's webcast. We're going to kick off now, and I see people are joining, but we'll let them go ahead. We have some housekeeping items and things to go through, and then we'll get started. So welcome everyone to today's webcast. Today we're going to be talking about Microsoft Viva Connections, the personalized next-gen intranet for engaging employees. And this is all about a deep dive. We're going to take a look at what it is, what it provides. We're actually going to set it up live so that you can see from a technical standpoint. We've tried to make this very simple moving forward. So, and then we'll take your questions along the way. As we're going through, and let me turn off my heater here. It's actually getting a little chilly in my home office, and so I had the heat on. But as we go through, a couple of things. Number one, if you have questions, you should see on your screen a moderated chat dialog box. I encourage you, as we're going through, post your questions. I'll try to address them. I'll take breaks as we go along to look at those. I'm doing all this running and managing this solo, so don't expect them at the exact second. If I can, I will. I'll see them. I have it open on my screen, but we'll be taking questions. Also, if you have, I know people tune in from all over, and if you want to let me know, where you're from, you can say your name or not, but where you're watching from. We love to hear the city and state or even country where you may be tuning in from. It's always exciting to see that, and we'll love to give you a shout out during the session. So feel free to post those as well. So again, questions, comments, as well as shout outs where you're from, where you're viewing from. Love to hear from you. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. So for today's broadcast, my name is Michael Gannotti. For those who don't know me, I'm a principal technical specialist for Microsoft working in our healthcare and life sciences group. And I just wanted to call out our website if you're not aware of it. It is https://aka.ms/HLS blog. That's aka.ms/HLS blog. At the conclusion of today's broadcast, when I have a chance between now and tomorrow, I'll take the recording. I'll take any links that I've talked about, all the resources. We'll put those as well as the slides from today, although more than half of this will be live, not in slides. So we'll put all that up. We'll put it, make it available off that website, as well as all the others in our series. This is the first one of a 4-part series, and the next one will be around insights, followed by topics and learning. Post the Ignite conference, we'll then have more. So if you have questions, again, I'm going to go ahead and start moving on, but in the dialog box, post your questions, comments, shout outs where you're from. And with that, let's get started. So real quickly, I just want to run through a few slides to kind of set up what this is all about for those who are new to this. And so for those who've seen this, please bear with me. I'm not going to take long. But when we talk about Microsoft Viva, Viva means different things to different people as they've been hearing about it. I've been on many a call where folks think Viva just means insights. That's just a module. But all of this, the 4 modules that are out now, all stems back to this idea of enabling hybrid work. So Microsoft at the beginning of the pandemic, like most of our customers, our partners, et cetera, we saw an outflow of people from the office to working in the home office. We saw a lot more mobility. If I can work from anywhere, because I'm working virtually, I can be anywhere. And also, as we're now having the return to the office, that's not wholesale, everybody necessarily coming back. So we see people who are in mixed mode, who are spending, maybe a few days a week in the office, but a number of days at the home office, et cetera. And so we have this mix of people around all that. And so as we saw the demands and stresses around that, we set about to build some things, one of which we're going to take a look at today, to address those challenges. And the challenges that we saw really rising as people flowed out from the office, almost 2 years ago now, was this idea that, number one, people feel disconnected. So, where when you're out, I'm in my home office and people are remote, it's easy to feel isolated and disconnected. And so we get that, we see that, and, we understand that. And that's part of what we're addressing here. We also saw burnout. People, are go, like a hamster on the wheel. That'll be more addressed in the next of our webinars when we talk about Viva Insights, but definitely has been an issue. People also spending an inordinate amount of time trying to find things during the day because I can't pop over, the top of somebody's cubicle. I don't see them at the water cooler, at the coffee pot to ask them, hey, where'd you get this or that? So people are spending lots of time looking for things. And then finally, talenting and skills. That all speaks to this overall effort that we began. And when we began this Viva effort, and we'll be out of the umbrella in a moment and down into connections, for us, we decided to settle on building this interface, which is around employee experiences, not necessarily new tools, right? People have lots of tools. They have lots of applications open, lots of browser windows open. We wanted to simplify that. And so for us, what we decided to settle on as we move forward was using and leveraging Microsoft Teams as that single pane of glass to get work done. We already were doing meetings in there. We're doing chat, we're doing calls, collaboration on documentation and other items, project planning, and then integration of the 365 stack and third party. So even competitors to Microsoft coming on board with Teams because of its proliferation and ubiquity throughout our customer base. As we were looking at that, that's where we decided to settle, and that's where we decided to build this employee experience that we're calling Microsoft Viva. You'll note there are 4 modules listed here, hence the 4 in our deep dive series. Today, however, we are going to focus on strictly Viva Connections. We'll be talking about insights, topics, and learning in subsequent ones, but today we're going to spend our time in connections. And so what is that connections, as we move forward? It's really about bringing this idea of a next generation intranet that's personalized. And when I say personalized, that means based on the role I am in the org, I'm serving up the content, the applications and information that are pertinent to a person based on their role, not just broad blasting. The days of the old intranets where you just put everything up there and it was by default an executive checklist of things and lots of information people, to be honest, didn't care about. I can tell you, we have a beautiful website in MSW, Microsoft Web. It's our internal intranet. I didn't care about a lot of the information. Now it's a lot more pertinent to me. So bringing that forward, this idea of this next generation intranet, highly personalized and tailored for users wherever they're at on any client, Mac, PC, it could be a Linux box with a browser, Android, iOS, full fidelity across all platforms through Microsoft Teams, a single pane of glass. So we're now bringing the intranet to the person versus them having to go out. So that's what it's all about, bringing those communications and all those things with full fidelity across all platforms. We're going to go through some screenshots and then dive into actually building this out. But I think it kind of helps to see what it is. And again, if you have questions as I'm going through any of this, please post them. Happy to take those. So from a user standpoint, when they come in to Teams, the first thing that they should see is their branded corporate intranet experience right within the client, right? And again, or in the browser version of Teams. So that's the beauty of it. All platforms, right? So here we are, we're seeing within Teams, we have this woman is logged in and she's seeing news and things coming to her, conversations, all brought via this company feed. We have the dashboard that's bringing application interfaces via what we call tiles. And we're going to set these up today, by the way. Tiles that can be audience profile targeted for users based off of their role. We're getting all of that brought to the person. And again, that's across all screens. So when we look at a mobile view, we're going to get the same experience, albeit it's going to be framed out differently because of different real estate, but it's going to be full fidelity. So for example, you'll see as we start to go through this, and we're going to have a little kind of scroll through, we have interaction, full engagement, sharing, and all kinds of things being served up, not just the traditional news, but conversations from Yammer. We even have here a conversation from Teams. There could be events, etc., being brought to us by this entity called the company feed that allows us to dynamically serve up all this kind of information with full engagement across mobile and the desktop. And the beauty of it is, for your folks managing the intranet, there's nothing separate to do. They just post it like they would if they were just posting to their SharePoint Modern Framework portal. That's it. There's not any extra work to do to give this full mobile experience. So the beauty of it is, again, we get all that here. If we go on back, then we can take a look. Here we're going to see some of that scrolling through where we can see that full fidelity of viewing just laid out. And again, auto sizing images and compressing them accordingly. All that's done behind the scenes. No work to be done by the people who are actually publishing. If we head on over to the dashboard where we're getting those applications, here you can see the desktop view and the mobile view. Again, full fidelity. I don't have anything different. And the beauty of the dashboard, it's not just bringing me the applications that everybody at the company uses. It can be based off of my role. So here we see someone who has a COVID checker, for example. They're initiating a return to work for some of their employees. In this case, it could be a hospital where they had IT staff and other non-clinicians, non-frontline workers who had been working from home during this time. And they go through a workflow using an application built in Microsoft Power Apps and Power Automate. And again, one of the beauties here is if you're used to doing things in the Power Platform, it all translates. They can readily be published here as tiles. We also have no-code tiles that can be dropped in, both from us and third party. So for example, tasks. Well, tasks show up across Planner, To Do, Outlook, but getting a single consolidated view of all of them that I can access that have been assigned to me right here from mobile or the desktop. Also, we have Ask Your Leadership where I can click and initiate, and I'm in a Yammer conversation, all one view. That's beautiful because this person's getting these applications they need. But what about a frontline worker or a clinician? Here's just some additional ones, some out of the box. Notice the different sizes. You can change, and I'll show you that as we go through. But we have here now a frontline worker. They've never left the work environment. They are front and center. And so from here, they're actually going to clock in. So here we have an interface for them for their Kronos app. It could be for Microsoft Shifts. We have here, they don't have to do a whole return to work COVID check. They just do their daily health check because they've been coming right along. And again, bringing them the application interfaces, not just information, but applications based on their role that they need to get their job done. And so all that's being provided here right within Teams, served up on the back end using SharePoint Modern Framework and delivered to the users on any view, mobile, desktop, just browser-based. So I'm going to go start a demonstration where we're going to actually start with an intranet. We're going to enable things to prep it to be ready for connections. Then we're going to set up connections. As I get ready to do that, if you have some questions or things that you're thinking through, go ahead, post those, and we'll make sure we address them. So far, it's been very quiet in the chat, and that's all right. But if you have questions, I certainly want to address them. So again, we're going to go ahead. We're going to set up Viva Connections and do some configuring. I'll show you how you get the dashboard, how you get the feed. We'll do all that, make it available. So the first thing we're going to do is bring up our browser view. So here I'm in a test tenant. And I just want to call attention to this. A lot of folks have, when I've been talking to them, they struggle because they migrated from on-premise with SharePoint. They moved to the cloud, but they brought SharePoint over in what we call SharePoint Classic. They just migrated it up to the cloud, but it's still the same old SharePoint. It's not modern framework. And they start wringing their hands. Yeah, but Mike, this stuff looks great, and we want to get it to all of our users. But it's going to be this huge shift and lift. And so the first thing I want to say is no, it does not need to be. The only thing that's required to be in modern framework to get started here, and you can then iterate, right, and continue to extend and iterate as you go. But to get started is your home page in SharePoint Modern Framework. And to do that, we've made it simple for folks, again, who, you know, they have a learning curve and they want to have an attractive site like this one here that I have with all kinds of goodies on it. We've got podcasting enabled. We have virtual tours that are enabled. We've got integrated Yammer, recent documents. We even have a survey embedded, all these kind of things, and they want to personalize it. We have templates for you. So if you need a jump start, just so you know, I went simply here to lookbook.microsoft.com. This does take about 20 minutes for it to render, but you simply need to come in, say, see the examples. I used this one called The Landing. And if you click it, you'll notice it tells about the site. It has add to your tenant, which I'll go to this and then we'll stop. And you say you want to allow that, accept, and then it's going to look through to make sure you meet the baseline qualifications. And then we can put in, change the name if we want and some basic pieces. But it's going to spit out a site complete with structure, content, modern framework, all the new whiz-bang web parts that you can then take. The only person who has access to it is the person who provisioned it, and then anybody that they give access to. You can go through, replace content, you can change colors, themes, all that good stuff. But it gives you a great starting point that you can enable. And I did have a customer take this and in 2 weeks rolled it out to a global organization. So just keep that in mind. It's probably, if you're in Classic, this is probably much nicer than what you have today, right? So we have this site here. So what we need to do is, first of all, get the site ready for connections. And the way that we're going to do this, and I will provide in the recording after the fact, the links on our blog site. But what we need to do to get it ready is, first of all, we have to identify this site as a home site. That's going to affect this navigation that we have here, right? That's going to then allow us to show navigation also within Teams that's of a global nature, and it's going to help things just come through a little easier. So what we're going to do is, in this case, we need to go to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. I'm going to click Show All, and we're going to go to the SharePoint Administration. We're going to come on over here. There we go. And while that's coming up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and copy this particular URL. And then in the SharePoint Admin Center, we're going to select Settings. And under Settings, you'll note it says Home Site, not set. If you haven't done this before, just because you have a home page doesn't mean it's a home site, right? So this initiates some actions that are available via connection. So you want to set this. So we're going to come in here and we're going to click Home Site. And it says enter the URL of the site you want to use. All right. So we'll go ahead. There's our URL. This site could not be found. What do you mean it could not be found? I just went from here. Here, we'll get rid of the ending there. There we go. This site can be set as your home site. All right. So once we're there, we're going to go ahead and select Save. And that's it. Now we have, you can see the site has been set and we have a home site. That's all we needed to do here. All right. So once we've set the home site, the next place that we're going to want to go is we're going to come back to our 365 Center and we're going to select Microsoft Teams and get into the Teams administration interface. You can see this is fairly straightforward, right? We had scripts you had to run and all that before. That's all out the window. And this is very quick, which is why we can do this live. So here we are, and we're going to select the drop down for Teams apps, and we are going to select Manage Apps. We'll let that come up. And we're going to search for Viva. And here you can see we have Viva Connections. I'm going to select it. Notice it says blocked by publisher. By default, when we light this up in your org, it's not lit up for everybody. We block it so that you can control the rollout and what you want to do there. But once we go ahead, we're going to select, first of all, allow. In this case, I'm going to say allow. There we go. And it's no longer blocked. And again, we're going to select it, and I want to customize it. So we click Customize, and you notice here we have a number of options that we can select. So number one, I can change the name to anything I want. So I'm just going to, instead of saying preview here, I'm going to say, I'll just leave it at Viva Connections. You could put your name. Actually, let's do this. Let's call it The Landing, same as my homepage, right? So we can change that. We can change the description. Now, I do want you to note, all of these fields need to be filled in, either with the defaults or by yours. So we also have a short description. We have a privacy URL. If you have a privacy policy published for your org, you would put that there. Then we're going to put that website URL right here. There we go. And terms of use, same thing. If you have that internally published, and then a full description. The other thing you're able to do, I'm going to scroll down, is you're also able to customize that branded logo. So here you can see we have two different ones it asks for. It asks for a color one, which is going to show in the catalog of items, things that are available, and then an outline icon. That's what's going to appear in Teams for us, right? If you look at these icons over here in Teams, you can see we have those profile ones. So what we want to do is we're going to come on back here. You could upload a different one here. Now, it does tell you, make sure to take a look. It has the information here. So, for example, the profile one or the black and white one, it's 32 by 32 and it's a PNG file. Then over here, I think it's 192. Yeah, 192 by 192 PNG as well. It has to be those sizes or it's not going to work. Your graphics people can mess with that, but we do give you a default that's right here. And we also have, you can change some accent colors. I'm simply going to click apply and click publish. Once I've applied now and published it, it means that this application that I just put out there been published. Notice it's not showing here anymore. That it's going to be available for that broader organization, right? To be able to publish up as a left hand, or we can also make it available to put in individual teams as a tab view. But once we've gone ahead and done this, we're going to go ahead here, and I can just get rid of that. We'll see. I don't know if the is going to show yet. The landing, there we go. So there it is. There's our piece. It's not a custom app. It comes from Microsoft. But the next step is to go ahead and add it to our setup policies. So we're going to select setup policies and then the global. Now, if you don't want to roll this out to everyone, you want to roll it out to a subset of people, you can do that for testing and things. But you will need to set up here a policy, right? So here we have global org and first line workers. You would need to add a policy that's going to be targeted to a specific group. And then you would put the attributes like I'm going to do right now. So here I'm going to go ahead. I open global. This means for everybody. And here you can see some of our settings, upload custom apps. I don't need to turn that on because it's not custom. It's a Microsoft published one. It's not something that you've done. Now, if you create an app that you want to app, you'd have to turn that on. User pinning is on, so users can add apps to there. You may have that on or off. Installed apps, right? So this is if you want to allow users to add this application to, meetings, to their teams that they've set up for different groups. You can put that here, but we don't care about that. We just want this right on that left-hand side. So I'm going to come here to pinned apps. That's the our pinned ones that we have in Teams. I'm going to click Add Apps, and we're going to go ahead and look for the landing. There it is. We'll click Add, and then Add. It's going to place it at the bottom of the page. So what we want to do is select and move that up. Once it's up, we're going to click Save. Now, if we open our global org-wide, we'll see here it is. It's pinned. It lets us know that's where it's going to be. Now, it may take a few minutes, right? So we're going to go ahead and take a look at Teams. I'll refresh it. And then we'll come back if it's not showing up yet. And we'll come back anyways because we're going to do some work. So here's our Teams instance. Let's go ahead and refresh, and we'll see if it's done. Now, just so you know, this is a test tenant, so it will show up. Yeah, dismissed. It's going to show up within the next few minutes here, but it's a small tenant, right? Small test tenant. In your larger tenant with lots of users, etc., it can take up to 24 to 48 hours. So just to set the stage, typically, if you're going to publish this as a best practice, think about doing it late on a Friday. That way it has the weekend to replicate through and to show everybody. So we'll refresh one more time, but then we'll head on back over to our site because I want to show you extensions that are going to show. And so we're still waiting. We'll come back to this in a bit after we've done some of that, and it will be live. All right. So I'm going to come back over here to the landing. And the beauty of Connections is because we're using SharePoint Modern Framework and bringing it through like we saw in our example, in those click-throughs in PowerPoint, anything I can do in SharePoint, I'm able to do in Connections. So that's where, I've had some conversations with customers and like, yeah, but there's only certain things I can do. Anything I can do here. So for example, we saw, in those pieces, both the feed as well as the dashboard. So how do I add them? Well, I'm going to refresh my view here of this particular site. And once that's fully up, we'll come up to the gear that's going to appear right up here. There we go. I'm going to click that drop down. And this was not here prior to us going through the steps we just did. But by going through them, by enabling the connections for Teams, by setting this as the home site, this lights up. And once it's lit up, I can come in. And when I click that, it says create a dashboard. So before we can add the feed, before we can add a dashboard to this page, we need to create the dashboard. And remember, the dashboard is that series of tiles that I can tailor and deliver to people. So I'm going to click Create Dashboard. It's going to open up a different page view. This is the dashboard administrative page. And notice a couple of things. Number one, we have this vertical view, and it allows me to choose either a mobile view or a desktop view. All that's dependent upon how your screen's laying out. It doesn't matter. You don't have to switch back and forth. It's all dynamic. But here it also gives us some instructions, and it says start by adding a card. It says select the ad right here. It's pretty simple. And then it says you can see how your dashboard is going to look on different devices. Tells you about that. It says you can preview your dashboard. And then finally, you can publish your dashboard, right? Simple. If you've ever added SharePoint, if you ever added web parts to a SharePoint page, you can do this. So from here, I'm going to select add a card. And right now, we're still in preview, right? Once this goes general availability, which I can tell you is very, very, very soon. That's all I can say. Very, very soon. We'll have many more. So there will be, and even in this, you're going to see a number of them appear. But we have many ways of adding parts. There will third-party ones will be available for you for both Microsoft partners, competitors, etc. We've announced partnerships with Workday, with Salesforce, with ServiceNow and others. But in here, to add it, it's as simple as this. So the first thing I'm going to do is say assign tasks. And it's going to drop that in. And if I select, notice when I click edit, just like a web part within this dashboard, I get that view here on the right where I can edit and configure it. Notice the options we have. I can make it a medium size, which is a square, or if I make it large to consume across, then it's going to be a large rectangle. So I have that available. Depending also on the tile, I may have the option for custom images, and we'll see that with some other ones. So this one's pretty basic. It's going to be, I'm going to make it available for everybody, which means that anybody coming here will see their tasks, not other people's, just theirs. So that's going to be personalized by the tile itself. But if I wanted to, I could target it. So we have audiences to target. And if you click here, whoops, it's going to bring you to this whole how to create targets for audience targeting. It's going to explain that. But in a nutshell, for audience targeting, it can be an Azure AD group or it can be a 365 group. Azure AD, think of your security groups that you have that you set up for different types of users in your org to provide access. So those you can leverage right out of the box. Also, every time you create a team, whether a large one, like I'm in the HLS, Healthcare and Life Sciences group, every time you create one of those teams, a 365 group is set up. So that means you can go ahead and start typing and provide for that. And you can target up to 50 different groups. So it says you have a 50 audience limit. If you're saying I'm targeting, if you exceed 50, I would submit that that's probably not a target. It's probably just show it to everybody. So here's where you could set that. We can add additional cards. So I'm going to come in next. If I wanted, I could select shifts. So if I had shifts set up, I don't have it set up, so it'll error on me. But if you're using Microsoft Shifts, that's one of our first person no code that you could drop in. It also has Teams apps. Now that's interesting. If I click that, watch this. Number one, it's going to allow me to search for an app. And so from here, I can go in and I can click if there's ones that are pre-built. So here's tasks by planner and to do, places, stream, power apps, stocks. So apps that have been provided for by 365, forms, approvals, and I can get those various ones, news, drop them in there. I can put those. And as I create additional ones, apps for teams, I can place them here and make them available as well. I'm just going to go ahead and select stream. You can see here, then it gives me the title. I can, keep the same one. It has a description. Again, I have the ability to target who sees this, who doesn't. And then finally, if I want to come in here, the last one is anywhere where you have a web link. And I want you to see this. I'm going to make this one large. It's kind of interesting. We're going to put a link to a site. So it could be your corporate intranet or internet. So I'm going to put, in our case, https://Microsoft.com. Click out of there. And it's going to go, it should be pre-filling. Hello, hello. I need the www.microsoft.com. Oh, I have HTTPS twice. That's why. There we go. Now watch. Boom. It pre-filled. Now I can certainly change it. It's got a German site. That's interesting. So I can have that. I forget if it's /en for English. I'm just going to leave it. We'll stick with the German. There we go. And notice it even pulled a thumbnail, auto-selected, but I could select a custom image. The card icon I can make custom. And again, I can target. So those are the out-of-the-box preview parts. Once this goes general availability, many more. When I'm done, I click publish. It says, congratulations, you created your dashboard. Now I have to add that to the home page. So if I come on back here, let's say under topics, I want to add those applications. Well, it's this easy. I'm going to come in, say edit. And I want to scroll underneath there and we'll find where we have, there we go, for adding. We get the little plus to add a new web part. I'm going to click that. And again, this is all just SharePoint. So if I want to add that, I'm just going to type dash for dashboard. And here it is. There's the dashboard. It's going to go ahead, drop that in, and boom. Any targeting would show up differently for different people, but now I've made those applications available. What about the feed? That dynamic feed. It's not going to show much until I start publishing additional stories and pushing stuff from Yammer and other areas. But if I came here and I said, hey, I want to add another web part, this time let's type feed. And I can go ahead here, type the feed. It says for the preview. And there we go. It's taken the initial ones. I published these last night, so they're still current. But again, if you publish additional news and you have roll-ups from different areas, you have different ones out there where you're profiling, they're there. But look at this, what's different. Here, no interaction. Here, we've turned on likes and sharing and views, how many people have viewed. That's going to work across the box, mobile, PC, Mac, it doesn't matter. Finally, I'm going to scroll on down, and because all of this is just SharePoint, again, I can publish just about anything I want. So here I've set up a Power BI dashboard, right? Again, all of our services in 365 are meant to pull in together. I pulled, into here in this one case, if we come on up, here's a Microsoft form. If I click that and we click the edit, you'll see edit web part. It's from Microsoft Forms, and I simply added the link. And this is for a weekly employee pulse where they can go in and submit how they're feeling. I did it very simple for our use case here. But of course, you could put as complicated a form as you want there. But in our case, what I want is I'm going to come here to my Power BI, and right from here, I'll select File, Embed Report, and there's SharePoint Online. So when I click that, it's going to give me a special link that's meant for SharePoint. I'm going to go ahead, copy that. Come on back to the landing, and we are going to go ahead and add a new one. And I'm going to say, start typing Power. There we go, Power BI. It's going to say, add a report. Give me the link. And it's going to take a sec to come in here. There we go. It's now, it grabbed the name. It has the display here. I can say if I want to show the navigation pane or not. Do I want to show the filter pane or not? Notice it's relaying out, and there's my filters. So I can give this thing full fidelity, right? For people to do things. I'll turn the filter pane off. We'll give it some more real estate within this particular view. And then, you know, here we go. That's it. Once we're done here, I simply click republish for our SharePoint site. Then we're going to go back to Teams, and this should all be showing. So here we go. There's our Power BI report. We've got a very full-fledged site. And I just want to highlight a couple of other things before I do click on over there. I'm going to go back to edit. I showed you audience profiling for the dashboard. You can do this for most web parts, period. So, for example, if I want to come down to, I don't know, let's say, let's pick on Power BI. I think, does this one have the ability to do that? Oh, no, this one does not. So you'll have to look at the particulars. Different web parts are coded differently. The news stories, individual stories when you're posting them, you can turn that on. You can also turn on, by the way, I'll just click republish real quickly. You can even do it for your hyperlinks. So here I have some additional hyperlinks, and then I have things like a virtual facilities tour where we're using SharePoint Spaces, which everybody has. So I can come in, and again, this one's an immersive 3D environment, put on a headset. I can then tour facilities, do things like mouse overs, text. I can play audio. You're going to hear this, but it's playing some audio. I can have navigation from 360 environment to 360 environment, right? Even with video, forms can pop up and save. All these things are being done here, right? All within SharePoint Modern Framework that we're going to now pull into here. But the last thing is, I mentioned navigation, right? So if I click edit, I do want, a lot of folks don't realize, enable navigation, site navigation, audience targeting. This allows you to actually customize by link, right? I'm going to cancel out of there, but by the individual links, you can target them so that different people by profile will have same targeting. So you have a wealth of targeting. I also added a podcast. If you're not aware, by the way, I need to call that out. All I did was set up a document library. Document libraries now, and notice I can click and see all. So I'm just going to click that real quick. Yeah, I could go to all documents. Actually, I'm going to just go here and notice it's going to play. It'll play and render right from here, but all document libraries now support MP4 and MP3s for live playback directly in. But now that we have all this wealth of stuff, we want to get it to our employees. So I'm going to come on back here, and if we refresh, I'll be surprised if it's not showing yet. It should be. So we're going to go ahead. It's taking its time thinking about it. Dun, 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 dun. We'll close out some of these other areas. Come on, Teams. And everything is slowing down for me. Wouldn't you know, the live demo, yay. So let's come on back here to the landing, and then we'll just open Teams up fresh and new. it's going to go to this one channel view I had previously opened. And our site appears to just be hanging, wouldn't you know, in my demo. Let's just close some items. And we're going to get one hand clapping. So I apologize. I'm not sure what's going on here. Why Teams is not rendering, because it should be. And the other areas are all opening. There we go. And Teams. Hello, Teams. Yeah, and it's just sitting, and I am not sure what is going on. So I apologize. I've run this demo many times. I've built it out many times. Something is going on with my Teams that should not be. So that's a big fail. Having said that, what it will show is this site in full fidelity. You'll see a number of different things happening there. You'll see all the navigation coming out. The icon in the upper left corner that's supposed to appear when this is all supposed to appear. I'm going to actually close my demo area and I'm going to open it back up. So let's come on. I'm going to open up just a browser. Come on back to my demo environment, fresh. But all this is then supposed to be front and center within Teams. And it's doing the same thing. So I apologize, folks. It does work. I love this. But are there questions of any kind? I mean, those are the process. I'm going to have all the resources. So I'm going to come on back here real quickly to our presentation. And right in here, questions of any kind that you may have around connections. Everybody's been very quiet. So a couple of things as I'm waiting to see if any come up. Number one, some next steps. So I'm going to provide links. This deck I'll have, so you'll also have these links where you can see, the blog for all this, where they're putting new documentation and things out. Please tune in next week to Microsoft Ignite. A wealth of things happening there around all this. You're going to want to check that out. They have more around Teams. Also, I'll have a link directly to the provisioning of connections so that you can make that available and what you need to do and provide that here. So I'll provide all that. And again, these links will be here as well. But unless I see any questions, that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions of any kind? Because I've seen none come in so far. Oh, I'm in the wrong area. I'm not in Q&A. I'm sorry. I was in the internal chat. So now I'm going to look. I see lots of stuff. All right. So as we are going through some of these questions, I'm going to continue to refresh and hope something happens here. And I'm, again, not sure what's going on here, but there we go. So it's coming up, and please, why are we not seeing our Teams? It's just not replicating through. Something slowed down in our system. Again, it can take up to 24 to 40 hours, but I do have Teams back. So I'll keep refreshing. But a couple of things. I have some shout outs. So number one, Kevin from Carden, Ohio. Welcome, and thanks for tuning in. Maher, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but from Frankfurt, Germany. I've flown through Frankfurt a bunch. Welcome. I'm glad you were able to tune in. Mary Farmer from Atlanta, Georgia, from Carestream Dental. Welcome. And you're a fan of the HLS blog. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And always great to have folks on. We have greetings from Quentin from Quebec. If we don't want to use the dashboard, is it possible? Absolutely. In fact, at Microsoft, they have not rolled out the dashboard to us yet. They're thinking through. Remember, that's something you have to explicitly add. If you don't want to add it, don't add it. It's a web part that you add when you're ready, if you're ready. So that's great. If yes, what will happen in the mobile version? You won't get the dashboard in the mobile version. That's all. The feed, if you use the feed, that will show. So no, they won't see it anyways. There's actually, on the directions that I'm going to post, they have how you can then enable what you're going to provision for the mobile experience as well. So it's a one-time shot on the back end. It says, hi, we're using Yammer, SharePoint, MS Teams. Does Viva combine these channels to only one place to go, or how does Viva fit in the portfolio? So I'm glad you asked. That's a great question. So let's open the landing here in another view. So there is a couple of things that, number one, from a Teams perspective, you can actually add Yammer here on the side as a pinned app. That's number one. Number two, within Teams, you can add specific Yammer communities and conversations, but also on the landing for connections as this comes through, right? I'm just going to click refresh there again. As we're looking at that, we have some great Yammer web parts that you can add right on the home page. So for example, here we go, conversations. So here's one where they're posting out a survey using Yammer, and it's all right here for your users. So, you can take a look there. We have all that available, so you can bring that together into one location. SharePoint, certainly this is SharePoint, so as you navigate from there, and I'm just really bummed it's not showing yet here. Whenever it does show, we'd be able to navigate through. And I have, you know what, let me do this. I do have, I think I have one here. I have another demo environment that I did this in just the other day, and I believe I published it to Teams. So let's take a look. Pretty sure I published this one. I have many demo environments. Yeah, there it is, the landing. So once you're in here, the beauty of it is, from a SharePoint perspective, from this where it's here we go, it's rendering out here. If I want to start navigating career benefits and all these things, it's just wherever I happen to click on, it's going to take me right in here in line. I don't have to go elsewhere to navigate. And notice the search up here, right? So I'm able to actually search my SharePoint from the Teams piece because it's contextual. So we've got that. So yeah, you can have it as a single place. Thanks, Mike. Very helpful from Soundbite. We still need to get that web part going. I would love to show yours in here. Next, is the default SharePoint root site of a tenant automatically? No, it is not. Great question, Kevin. I think I did answer that later, but a root site's not automatic. You need to determine it as a home site. When I set the home site, will others be able to see it before I roll it out? Remember, SharePoint does security trimming based upon access. So if you haven't given people access yet, no, then they won't. So it's all about access. Who have you opened it up for, and who are you allowing to see? But great question. Will this step-by-step be written in written form for future reference? It already is, and I'm going to give it to you. There's already documentation online to set all this up, Amanda. Great question. German content, that's live audience targeting for me. There you go. It seems like the dashboard web part and the feed web part are just redundant information for content you already have. No, not true. So number one, the dashboard is targeted information, right, that you're going to roll up. And that's typically applications. So it's a way to target those individual apps in a concise manner that also is going to show up in a concise manner on the mobile view. So it's very given to that. The feed could be redundant if you keep the old news part here. The idea is you probably would eliminate, right? Here's an old one that I have here. You'd probably remove the older news web part off the home page, put the feed, because you can see here, like we have different things with Yammer and other pieces that are floating up in there, so that, because we can feed from many more areas than you could do in the old news. So it's the idea of doing that rather than just a traditional news part. And also, the feed is designed to provide full engagement right off the home page and on the mobile view, which you're not going to get through the just news part. Murphy's Law of Live Demos. Yes, Anonymous. You're absolutely correct. Been doing this for Microsoft for over 20 years, and yeah, you're right. How is the Viva Connections web part different than the news web part on the homepage? News web part is just news, whether it's roll-up news from other areas or just from the homepage. The feed allows you to push. We've just pushed out integration for Yammer so that you can push Yammer pieces, individual conversations and other things as items in there. We're rolling that out to Teams. We're rolling it out to a number of areas so you have more than just news. That's number one. Number two, it provides full engagement, whatever you've enabled for engagement from those different areas. That's going to surface up here as well, both here and in mobile. And number two, the mobile view will automatically recognize the feed as a distinct entity, frame it out nice, and set it for your users so they don't. It makes it much easier to access the content. Doesn't do that with the news part. What does posting articles look like for connection authors? Great question. It looks exactly like. I'm in Teams here. Let me go back to my other one. And as we refresh that view, we'll come on over here. It looks exactly like it would for SharePoint. It's because guess what? It is. You're just posting SharePoint. So if you want to post directly from here, we can do that. I can post news link, news post, news link, video news link, something new. 3 different types that we can post in here. But it looks like it would have in the old days. So I simply come in and say, hey, want a new news post. I'll say create the post. It's going to work on it. Give it a title. My new post. There we go. I could edit here. I could add, image and title. I could then, change out the contents here, add different components. Last thing I'm going to do is come on out here. Hello. I want to get out of that. And I want to click page details. And then I can change the thumbnail. I want something to show up, so I'll just pick. There we go. I'll pick that, and I can enter a description, blah, 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 blah. And there we go. And I'm going to post news. Posting. There it is. Come back to the landing. So we're going to have this new post, right? Which should show up. It will show it. Now, that brings up a quick piece. This, because it's using the graph to provide the view, it'll take about 15 minutes for it to show up here once it's been posted. So I did it in the news part, but it's the same, right? So we go there, and it's just still, it's bumming me out, not showing. I'll bet you I could go and manually grab it and pin it up there, but we're not going to cheat and do that. Actually, I am going to. Let's look for the. At least you can see it over here in the side, what that's going to look like. So I'm just adding this for this person. Boom. Oh, lovely. Now it lit up. I didn't have to move it up. It lit up for everybody the same time I was doing that. So it overwrote mine. There we go. So there's our site now. So we have the feed, we've got the dashboard, all the information is here, and that's it. All right, moving on, our dashboards or feed for Viva. I'm at the hour, but I'm going to quick try to answer the last few here. Are the dashboards or feed for Viva Connection what required? No. in order for the content to appear. No, we're going to get their optional web parts. You can roll those out as ready. So we have been at Microsoft. We have our MSW has been live for quite some time, and we're not showing either the feed or the dashboard. Any way to limit pilot group participation with connections other than only if you do it in a test tenant? Great question. So I actually have done proof of concepts with a number of customers that they're using test tenants and doing it there and providing access to that separate. It's either that or you're doing it that. I mean, that's the only two ways. Thanks from south of Germany. Oh, in Bavaria. I used to live in Zurendorf for over a year when I was in the service. Love southern Germany, Bavaria. Very fond memories of going up into near Grafenberg. How would you add components that are not SharePoint or predefined web parts? So you can publish using Power Apps, right? Power Apps now you can publish out as SharePoint parts or publish them as, you know, and I'm going to provide, there is documentation already for that. What we call adaptive cards to be tiles in the dashboard. So you can provide, you know, using that. There's third-party ones that you can just upload and add to your environment and consume. There's a wealth of ways. Connections can be accessed from outside of Teams, as you would. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Thanks for answering my question. Greetings from Heidelberg. I've been to Heidelberg. Beautiful. If you've never been to Heidelberg, it's gorgeous. University town. The churches are like museums, and you walk in. Love it. Yeah, I went there a number of times when I lived in Zurendorf. Does it work differently in the web browser? No, actually. So here I am. This is the web browser, right? So all that navigation. Let me close that. You know, same thing. It's all working here. Hey, I'm going to come in a virtual facilities tour. It's wrapped here. I'm not navigating any place separate. Did I click it? There we go. And it made a liar out of me. It brought me out. I have to check my link that I added there. But yeah, so it's supposed to, everything will work the same whether you're in the browser. That's the idea of it. And that's how I usually demo and work with folks in test tenants. Is it easy to go back a page within the Teams app like you would in the SharePoint page? It's all right here. Yeah, you can just go back and forth. Lily from Texas. Love Texas. Is there SPX so SharePoint framework availability? Yes. So you can do all kinds of crazy stuff with this. So the short answer is yes. Great job. Thank you. I'm going to close up. We're past the hour now by a couple of minutes. Thanks for hanging. So I have a number of attendees here, but you can see, you know, it's simple to set up. That's the thing. This is easy to set up. It's easy to configure. If you need a jump start, you can go out to lookbook.microsoft.com. If you want to stand this up in a test tenant, I will also have a link to how you can get a test tenant for free. It's a developer's tenant, won't cost you a dime, and you can start to play with all this in there if you wanted to. But certainly, you know, talk to your Microsoft rep, get a session, a meeting with your representatives, with your technical specialists, for folks that are coming within that I work with or within HLS. Let your reps know, love to work with you. I can help you, walk you through setting it up, extending it, answering your questions in a test tenant. And lastly, for customers who want to roll this out and are ready to roll, we have a couple of different things. Number one, we have partner workshops that Microsoft is funding to help get your feet wet and get going. Also, Microsoft Fast Track has a whole program, again, that we fund for you to get this into production. So we're ready to help you take it from A to Z, but talk to us, let us know, and we'll get you the right resources for depending on what you want to do. So with that, this is Mike Gannotti. I want to thank everybody for joining me today. Have a great day and take care. And next one will be in 2 weeks. Check back at the blog. We're going to do a deep dive on insights and looking at how you can leverage the graph and things to pull together additional information and enhancement. Have a great day. Take care. Bye now.